Hi, my name is Cynthia. I work in the Strategic Partnerships Development team at Google.
Hi, I'm Eric. I'm a system administrator at Google.
I'm Scotty. I work at Google. I'm from the Chicago suburbs.
My name is Randy Reyes. I grew up here in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I currently work at Google.
I remember when I was younger, I had 4 brothers, which it's not easy to be gay when you have 4 brothers because there's like so much masculinity in the house. I remember sitting in my bedroom when I was younger, laying on my bed and just feeling this dread in my chest, like knowing someday I have to tell my family or I have to tell somebody. And that alone was enough to terrify me.
I grew up at the dinner table hearing conversations about how gay people should die of AIDS, how gay people were less than, straight people, and it really caused me to feel very safe at home. And at the same time, I didn't feel very safe at school either.
Then I went to a public middle school and high school, and it was full of jocks, and I didn't know any gay people. I was the token computer nerd, so I got picked on all the time for that, much less being gay.
There were days where I was pretending to be sick just because I was too afraid to go to school.
I'm a transsexual woman. I grew up in rural Canada in really conservative surroundings, rather conservative family. Went to a pretty conservative school, and when I was growing up, it was all about conforming, fitting in, and doing what was expected of me. I was never even able to think about issues like my gender identity or sexual orientation until I grew up. In my high school, it was fit in.
I went to my senior prom, of course, with a girl, or 2 girls actually. It's a messed up story. And I remember after dropping them off, I drove to the side of the road in my car, and I started crying, just thinking about how screwed up everything is, trying to figure out what the hell I'm going to do with my life.
I didn't know what to do or who to reach out to, and I was scared of getting hurt, and I was so depressed that I was even thinking about hurting myself.
You're sitting in your house, it's a small town, you feel this magnetism, like you're never gonna get out, you're never gonna go anywhere. And it really draws you in. And you feel like there's no hope, that there's no one who will ever understand you. I'm a software engineer now at Google. And I just wanna tell you straightforward that things get so much better.
For me, it got better when I got to college. When I got to college, I met many, many new people. And some of them I found out were gay, and they were quite happy, and a lot of them were quite successful.
Even when my family couldn't be there to support me because they didn't know that I was gay or I hadn't told them, or even after I came out and things were still kind of a little difficult with them, I knew that I could really rely on my friends. And that's where they became my family.
For me, things really started to change in the last 2 years of high school when we could choose the subjects that we wanted to study and choose how we wanted to spend our free time. So I could really start exploring the city, exploring different sides of myself.
When I went away to college, I was able to define who I was. There was no backstory. I really felt like I could come alive and be expressive.
And as you sort of grow older, as you leave high school, you are not going to be under the control of those bullies anymore. You're going to be in control of your own life.
It got better when I came out, when I was able to tell my friends and family that I'm still me, but I'm not quite who you thought. When I was able to say, I'm transgender.
So the thing about things getting better is it doesn't just happen once. Like, it's not one day you wake up and you go, oh my God, things are better. Things keep getting better over and over, and in really small ways. Things got better the first time I said to myself, okay, I admit it, I'm gay. Like, that was a huge step. Things got better the first time I told a friend and that just somebody else other than me knew. Things got better when I stood before my brother, and it was like the hardest thing in the world to say, to admit it. And I couldn't even get through the sentence, and I started crying, and he gave me a hug, and he just like almost laughed at me. It was actually really an awkward situation, but he almost laughed at me and just said, yeah, it's okay. And he gave me a hug.
If I could tell myself at the age of 14 what I've wanted to heard from an older person, is that it does get better and that you deserve that. You deserve an awesome education. You will be loved by somebody. Somebody will love you back.
I'd say don't
don't worry so much about the labels or the definition or the exactly or figuring out precisely what you are or who you may be.
Back in middle school and high school, I thought it was maybe just me and a couple of other people I knew, but I didn't realize that there were all these great resources out there. Lots of youth centers or LGBT centers, and I wish I sort of knew that, and maybe I would have reached out to those groups and realized that there are other ways of dealing with family issues, especially within Asian communities.
Well, when I was a young teenager, if someone had told me that in 10 years I would be living in California or that I would have a boyfriend, both of those things would seem equally strange and impossible. So the truth of the matter is even if you think you know everything that's going to happen in your life and that you're able to predict all these terrible, sad, depressing things that are going to happen, you really never know when or how quickly things can get better for you.
There's nowhere to go but up. This is temporary. And like all of the stuff that you are experiencing in school, all the stuff you're going through, tons of people go through that, but it's definitely not worth it to not persevere through it. It'd be really bad for you to want to end your life at that point because it's so early on and there's so much more to life.
So if you're thinking as a teenager that maybe hurting yourself is going to be a good way of getting out of the pain, don't do it. Just think of yourself being a little older, maybe not 40, maybe 25, but think of yourself coming back and telling you that it's going to be okay, because it is.
Whether in your personal life, in your friendships, at work, things are getting better really quickly. Stay here to see it.
Just don't do it. I don't know what else to say. It's going to get so much better if you hang on.
It's going to get a lot better.
It really gets better.
Yeah, it does get better.
If you don't hang on for just a year more or a couple months more, or whatever it may be, you might not get to meet your best friend. You might not get to meet the person that you spend the rest of your life with. So just hang on, and you will.